Hi everyone, welcome back to Mysteries from the Mitten. My name's Kristen and I'm bringing you true crime cases right here on my channel. So if that's something that you're interested in, please stay tuned. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime I post new content. Today we're going to be discussing the unsolved case of Christina Castiglione, who was just 19 years old when she disappeared. Christina was born to parents Cristoforo and Beatrice, and she had a sister named Anna. They lived together in the city of Redford, Michigan. Christina's family described her as a strong-willed teenager who knew how to repair a car engine on her own. She had managed the girls' varsity basketball and volleyball teams at Redford Union High School. And the year prior, in 1982, she had graduated from Redford Union, and upon graduating, she was actually debating about joining the Army so she could have the chance to travel. Going forward, I will be referring to Christina as Chrissy. This mystery began on the night of Saturday, March 19th of 1983. Police reports account Chrissy's disappearance as follows. It was Saturday, March 19th of 1983, and Chrissy had the day off from her clerical job at the Detroit Edison Company, which she had started a few months before. So that Saturday, Chrissy and her 25-year-old boyfriend, Christopher Lindsay from Northwest Detroit, spent the day together running errands for Chrissy's mom. When they finished up these errands, they decided that they would meet up later on in the evening, and Chrissy headed home. She got home around 2 o'clock in the afternoon and decided to lay down and take a short nap. When 7:30 rolled around, Chrissy hadn't yet heard from Chris, so she decided to go look for him. Remember, it was the 80s, so cell phones weren't yet a thing, and it wasn't as easy to get a hold of someone or find out where they were. She also had recently sold her Mustang because she hadn't been able to afford the car insurance on it, so she set off on foot. She decided to start at Chris's sister's house, which was just across the street from her parents. But when she got there, Chris wasn't there, so she decided to move on and walk about a mile down the road to one of her friend's house. When she got there, her and her friend decided to sit down and watch TV for a little while, see if Chris called or showed up. But after some time went by, Chris hadn't stopped by or called yet, so Chrissy decided she would just head home for the night, but she would never make it back. Later, Christopher told police that he and his friends had been driving down 5 Mile Road on the way to a party when he spotted Chrissy outside the Kingsborough party store. She was very bundled up in a burgundy jacket and even had her hood pulled up from her gray sweater above her head because it was very cold out that night and it had actually started drizzling. Chris did tell police that he didn't ask his friends to stop for Chrissy because he knew that she disapproved of them, and he figured that they were going to stop at another party store down the road to get some beer, and he would just wait outside until she came down the street. Some time went by and Chrissy never passed by, so Chris decided to walk back in the direction from where he had spotted her. He didn't find her walking along 5 miles, so he got back home later that night and tried to reach Chrissy via phone, calling her parents' house several times, but she wasn't there. Chris said that he didn't want to worry her parents, so he didn't tell them of his concerns and thought he'd just sleep until the next day and try to get a hold of her then. The next day, Chrissy's mother, Beatrice, reported her missing to the Redford police around noon. Later that evening, around 7 p.m., police began to receive reports from individuals in the area who stated they saw a partially clad young woman being pushed in a vehicle off of Inkster Road and driven away. The police thought that this could definitely be Chrissy, so they quickly got in their cars to go search the area, but they weren't able to find her. Meanwhile, a friend of Chrissy's family, who was actually a self-proclaimed psychic, told the police that they would find Chrissy's body in a dumpster somewhere in the city of Inkster. So even though they didn't usually consult psychics, the police thought that they should go looking around, and they spent the next several days looking in all trash receptacles they could find in the city of Inkster, but they came up empty-handed. 10 days later, on March 29th of 1983, Chrissy's nude body was found in the Oak Grove State Game Area in Livingston County. She was found by a man who stated he was in the area after he had asked a local state worker where the best place to spot deer would be, as he wanted to go hunting and maybe do some fishing. The man's name was Ron Latila, and the circumstances for which he was in the area seemed suspicious to police right off the bat. Police later discovered that Latila's brother owned property very close to where Chrissy was last seen alive, and when they had arrived at the scene of her body, Mr. Latila didn't have a fishing rod or a rifle with him, although he claimed that he had been out there looking for deer. So they could already tell he was telling several lies. The man had said he had been out in a field looking for deer and he had come across the body, but he stopped about 100 feet away and didn't get any closer until he notified police. Sources stated that Latila did agree to take a polygraph test, but when that date and time came around, he never showed up. It seems like police didn't follow up on him because he didn't have a criminal history when they did a background check, and so there was no additional evidence that they were able to find against him, and they couldn't charge him or arrest him anyway. Another source did state that DNA had cleared Mr. Latila, but I couldn't find that anywhere else, so I'm not 100% sure on that. Chrissy's boyfriend and other friends were cleared after police administered 20 to 25 polygraph tests in which they all passed, and many of them did have alibis, so there was no reason to hold them or charge them. It is believed that Chrissy was picked up by a random stranger, after which she was sexually assaulted and strangled. There had been a snowstorm the night before Chrissy's mother reported her missing, and upon discovering her body, it was still partially covered in snow. Chrissy's autopsy showed that she had been sexually assaulted by her killer and strangled to death. Based on crime scene evidence, it did point to the fact that Chrissy had been killed at a previous location and her body was then moved and placed where it was discovered prior to the snowstorm. Redford Township and Livingston County Police were working together to solve Chrissy's case. Within 5 months of her being found, they received over 80 leads to follow up on and interviewed more than 20 suspects, but these didn't lead to any arrests. Between 1978 and 1983, the county had actually discovered 10 bodies left out on state land. They were all considered to have been murdered elsewhere in the Metro Detroit area and then brought to Livingston County and just discarded. Livingston County's landscape is very rural, and it seems that, at least at that time, people thought they could just dump whatever they wanted there, and the fact that they had no regard for the human life and would just leave people there is disgusting. No one has the right to take somebody else's life, nor should they be dumping their bodies out in the middle of nowhere. These circumstances, as well as the location that Chrissy was found, bear striking resemblance to the case of Kimberly Louiselle, who I covered in my first video. Both women are similar in appearance, young in age, brown-eyed brunettes, and were both taken in the Redford, Michigan area, and then their bodies discovered in Livingston County. Another coincidence is that Chrissy disappeared almost exactly 1 year to the date as Kim. This is why police have not yet ruled out the possibility of a serial killer in both cases. Both of Chrissy's parents have died, never learning who was responsible for her death. It's now been 38 years, and this case has still been left unsolved. One of the detectives that originally worked the case had stayed in touch with Chrissy's family over the years, and he's very saddened again that the parents passed away before they had the answers that they were looking for. He has been quoted saying, quote, "We operate on the belief that somebody has knowledge. The chances of it being solved is low as time passes, but it does happen, and that's what keeps us going. The only chance of solving the case is if someone comes forward with a change of heart. Maybe they'll have a come to Jesus moment and get religion," end quote. So what happened to Chrissy and who committed this horrible crime? There's that theory that it was a serial killer and Chrissy's may have been the third murder in a series of crimes committed by that same person. This theory is due to the fact that all three women were found under similar circumstances with very similar injuries, and they were all believed to have been taken in one location, killed, and then relocated to a second location where their bodies were discovered. All three women's bodies were discovered in a close radius, and they all bared similar appearances to each other as well. I would love to know what you think. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Remember to be respectful of the victim and their families. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and hear Christina's story. Please share this video so we may be able to reach an individual that has more information to lead detectives to solving this case. That's all I have for you today, and I'll look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, guys.